Occasionally, an event occurs of such significance that it forever changes the way you perceive life itself, as though a veil has been lifted and the clarity and purpose of your life become obvious. In November of 1993, such an event occurred for my family and I. I was one of the Native American children adopted at birth and removed from the reservation system. As fate would have it, I was raised by a wonderful family and grew up in southwest Minnesota. I lost both adoptive parents in 1987. It was then that my wife, Kathy, discovered my adoption papers that had been hidden for years. On Thanksgiving Day, 1993, I was reunited with my biological Lakota family. Neither of us had known the other had existed all those years. So began our incredible journey back into Native America. This is our story.
In this episode of Hidden Heritage, we will hear from the late Lakota spiritual leader, Floyd Leonard Hand. Floyd was born in a cabin along the banks of the White Clay Creek in Red Cloud Community, Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, South Dakota. Floyd joined the U.S. Army in 1956 and was stationed on the eastern Germany border. He always joked that he could sneak across the border into enemy territory and party with the Germans because they liked Native Americans. Floyd had great reverence for the Lakota traditional way of life and was a freedom fighter for the Lakota people. He fought for Native rights and was a proud member of the American Indian movement. Floyd gained his spiritual teachings in part from well-known Lakota spiritual leader Frank Foolscrow. He held workshops and conducted sweat lodge ceremonies throughout the country from the Carolinas to Hawaii. He traveled extensively and never turned anyone down who was looking for help. His door was always open and food was always offered, and he listened and tried to help all. Upon the request of his community, he moved back home to the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in 1993. He continued his counseling work and became a staunch treaty rights advocate. Through mentors like Johnson Holyrock and Oliver Red Cloud, he was appointed to the Black Hills Sioux Nation Treaty Council. Following is the conversation that we had in 2014.
These days, if you go to a bookstore at your local library, you'll find dozens of books about the American Indian culture, history, and spirituality. But most of them have been written by non-native writers with a European perspective. This week on Hidden Heritage, we're going to visit with author, spiritual interpreter, and respected Oglala Sioux elder, Floyd Hand.
And my mother comes from White Cow Killer. A very respectful man who has been appointed by the Sioux Nation, the only person who can kill a buffalo. And he was a chief in his own way among his people. But the future generation is something I'm worried about because of this technology. It's easier to live that way and make a lot of money, you know. I myself was encouraged as a young man in a Catholic school. I was encouraged by Father Cummins to always remain the way my grandfathers remained. Honor my language, my custom, my traditional way. And that's a very special father that talked to me. And he saw something in me that I never did know what he thought about me, but I know that he encouraged me to honor my ancestors and also honor my education. So I'm a recovering alcoholic, 40 years. But when he spoke to me like that, something that I always remember, that it's not very important to be who you are. It's very important to what you can do for people. But to me, present day, it's okay. No matter how we pray, we're going to get there. But it's not as seriously taken like we did because we went days without food and water to attain the level of spiritual realm afterlife. But nowadays, they go 4 doorways. Some call it 4 directions, 4 generations. But in the olden days, it wasn't like that. There was always one doorway, and we all wipe down and come out and face the future. Now they're making a ceremony out of it, which is okay, I guess, but it's just not the old elder way that we were taught. And everything is being taken. A spiritual leader, our medicine man, the so-called medicine man, is born. It's not something where you pick up and say, I'm a medicine man. No, you're born with that gift. And you go through the trials or tribulation of experiencing in the early years, where they let you do it. And once you get over that, then the elders call you forward. Enough is enough. So everything you do stops there. No more drinking and no more running around. So everything you have taught from knee-high to the ears around by 20s, late 20s. My grandpa, Frank Fedorfors, named me Dagin Holachni. In that period of time that I was growing up. That means respect nothing, and I really lived that way. But now, I look back and there's a reason for that. You just want to air out all my feelings, air out my behavior, go get hurt, do whatever I had to do. But now I understand why they're doing that, because when I first prayed, it was back in 1960 at Atlantic Ocean. I was going overseas when I prayed at the ocean. And then in 1978, I prayed at the Pacific Ocean. In 1981, I prayed in Boro, Alaska. In 1990, I prayed in Gulf of Mexico. So that's how long it took me to pray all 4 directions. And then my auntie and my uncle the chief, Oliver Redcloud, called me home. Time to come home. So I gave up my home, sold my house, relocated my children. The very place where I was living here, this was all full of grass. And this is where I settled. But I was never sorry for living out there 25 years. Because one thing I learned in exchange services with my European brothers is learning how to budget and learning how to stay healthy and learn how to make plans and learning how to have a yard and learning how to have a doorbell. But part of my learning and education ways is that at my age now, every phase of life, from infancy, adolescent, adult, and eldership, you're going to realize that there's a change in lifespan. And I can understand when I was doing something, my grandpa used to sit there and grunt. Now I'm at that age and I see these young people doing something and I'm not liking it. I let them know, So I understand what they're doing now because I'm at that age. In the future, our 7th generation is very important. We need to not let our cultural, custom, language die. We need to implement in our education a curriculum. If we don't do that, we're going to lose our inherent rights as indigenous nation here in North America. We're going to blend in with society, and it's not good. We need to teach deeply the pain and suffering that the Indian people grew up with. And that's part of our life, suffering, because we have to adjust to the climate of the nature. And I understand now because why I sit in that 400-degree lodge of purification. Everybody in the world is dying of heat, and I'm getting along pretty good because I've already learned how to adjust to heat. And I learned how to, from the elders, I learned how to drink tea from the trees. I learned to read each plant what it is for. And there's abundance of food growing all around us. We don't recognize that. And I was thinking, why is it that we have a lot of dental problems? Why is it that my grandma and grandpa didn't have no dental problem? They didn't have false teeth. They had perfect teeth. Why? Because they chew on roots. And the roots they chew on, the roots that they chew on cleans your teeth and gum and everything. They call that cinkpretrote. Cinkpretrote is the most beautiful medicine for teeth, and that's sweet flag. If you get some sweet flag and chew it a lot, you're going to have good teeth. But we don't do that now. In every chemical toothpaste, there's chemical in the decay. And even the babies that drink out of bottles, they decay because it's chemically fixed. So that's the change we're going back to. And the premonition of life by the elders, we're going to make a full circle. My close friend, who is a scientist out of Maryland, said, Floyd, we have gone as far as we can. There's no way back down. And I believe that because I look around me and I see the changes coming rapidly. But it isn't given. And we never look back as to what really hurt us yesterday. Because if we do that, we're going to get old pretty fast. But you look ahead and be happy, be humorous. Best medicine in life, in Indian life, is humorous. Humor is the medicine of life in Indian way of life. They love making fun of each other, The bigger nose you have, the more friends you're going to have, And that's just the way we live. That's our life, one day at a time. But I worry about our future generation, where they're losing their humor. They're too serious-minded. They make critical of each other in that internet. They say things to each other to hurt each other because they're not sitting face to face. They always draw a picture about Native warriors looking up in the universe. Indian people look up and pray. And the reason for that is we have Pleiades, the 7 stars symbolize the water of life, the dipper. And why we pray like that is first star, Wakwala, walk quietly. Second star, Wayonia, have respect, compassion. Waunshila, have compassion for your heart and pity for all living things. Fourth, Wawokia, you help others as you can help yourself. Fifth, Wokchumpte, the attitude and example of life you can set. And the 6th star is Wayushna, let it go, forgiveness, things that may hurt you. And the 7th star is Wopila. Wopila, that's the positive. Everything in Indian way of life is 7. And our monthly is 13 months. And our seasons are 3. And our season is 3 because we live in the past, present, future all at one time. Thailand and Korea to be a mop-up. But I think mop-up was already doing by the 36th Division. So they put me in a school in the United States Army called CBR, Chemical, Biological, Radiological Specialist. And I trained in there for 18 months, and by the time I finished training, I had to re-up another 3 years. So I did, and I became attached to S1, secret clearance. And during the Cold War, we penetrated into Czechoslovakia, East Germany, and it's a high-tech job. And I spent, I broke a hitch in the military. I went in twice. And during Vietnam started in 63, when it actually started. And I was really looking forward to go to Vietnam, but I was a specialist. And I was secret clearance. I worked with classified war plans like surface-to-air missile. And my job was, which really bothers me, is using chemical warfare, Agent Orange and all that. So that was my job, and it greatly affected me. So I went and debriefing for, called 90-day debriefing in Fitzsimmons Army Hospital. Every veteran, we go through trying times. And I feel for every veteran because we've all been there. What upsets me is that the high echelon people in politics, their kids never go to combat. Their kids never been sacrificed to high-tech places. They always get out of it. That's what bothers me. But I salute every veteran there is alive. Okay, I wrote a book, A Learning Journey on the Red Road, and that was for people that want to learn something about the sacred tree we call the Sundance tree. And if you look at the Sundance ground, in each direction, there's black, red, yellow, and white. And my grandpa, Fooscrow, told me that the 4 directions of these men standing are all different nationalities, he said. And we're going to go back to that center of that circle one day where we all began from. And he said, our blood is one. You cut each other, but all the blood is one nation, he said. And that Sundance tree is the red road, he said. Red road head, it represents the blood of every living, mammals to human. It's all one nation. And he said, you follow that tree, you're going to run into cherry trees that formulate a cross. That represents the blood of one, the blood of being one. And when we journey on that red road, he said, there's no mistakes and there's no failures. There's only challenges, and things that will happen will happen. And you can go around it. But if you don't, you're going to fall into that hole you created, he said. And on that Sundance tree, you get to the future, there is a Y. And that Y formulates our Milky Way, he said. And that Milky Way, in that crotch of that Milky Way, is the journey point from the place of union to here, where Washichus call it heaven, he said. We call it place of union. And we come to that birth canal of our mother to this earth through the water. So that's why I said that that Sundance tree is 98% water. So he told me that story of Red Road and compassion and love to carry on your respect. You don't hit your mother and father. You don't hit your grandma and grandpa. You don't talk back at them. You give them water. Anytime you see elder, you give them water, you help them. And then also all the four-leggeds and the wingeds. The four-leggeds is reverent because in our Indian way of life, when we are born from the east, from the water, birth canal, that's infancy. As a child, you're given a name to carry. And from there, you go to the south, where it's a second stage of life, the covenant of the air that we breathe when we are born. And that's to the east, protected by yellow nation, and white nation is to the south. And then the heart that starts to beat when we are born, that's protected by the black people of the West. And the flesh that they're given to us to survive with is north by the Indian people. So if you look at all those four covenants, it represents your physical structure. And our duty on this red road is to take care of that. A lot of us don't, so we have diabetes. The man has four principles if you're a leader. You have a chanupa, sacred pipe. That's to bring courage in you. And you have a chanchaga, a drum, to let people know the message. And the third, you have a war bonnet. When in third generation, you have a leadership war bonnet of your family, Tioshpa, or your tribe. And the last one is the eagle staff. All your deeds are attached to that. Then you have a teepee that tells all the family history inside every, teepee pole there is. And then you have a bucket where you give water, and food. And you have a buffalo skull representing your nation that you're a leader. And those are attained by, and then you have a war shirt, mean courage and never turn around. These are the way the red road is there. You have to earn it. Nobody just does. Nowadays, this instantaneous, instant sugar, instant coffee, all of that, we have instant medicine, man. They read a book, and next thing you know, they're charging $5,000, But I tell you one thing, I want everybody to know that the sacred pipe brought from the north doesn't speak English. Lakota vogalaka, na vokchamate na voables na cha tonkachla wakan na nichu. Hana chana sulak na chantea ki haton taya yongt. The wisdom and knowledge and the journey that she brought with us, you use it through your heart spirit and your head spirit. And you will always keep things and be an example for the young people. That's it. That's it.
I could talk to my great-grandfathers, I would say the old times are gone. So much has changed. But love, like the wind, is still here. When all else fades away, faith, hope, and love will remain. Those feelings that are so strong, so mysterious, will always be with us. I think of you, my relatives, and I thank you. I thank you.